So el tema para hoy es los pronombres indirectos. What do we think that means?
Indirect pronouns.
Indirect object pronouns, right. So last week we were talking about direct object pronouns, and today we're going to be talking about indirect object pronouns. So I'm going to give you the best definition I can of what an indirect object is. So in a sentence, the indirect object is the person or a thing that is affected by the action of the subject. Now, that's very wordy. It's very wordy, but when we look at an example, it can be a little bit easier. So I throw the ball to you. Who's the subject?
I.
Yep. And what's the action?
Throw.
Throw. Yep. So we have our subject and our verb. And then we have the ball and to you. Which one is the indirect object?
You.
To you. Yeah.
To you.
Does anyone know what the ball is? In that sentence? The thing that's being thrown?
Subject.
No, I is the subject.
Oh.
What if I rephrased it as I throw it to you? The ball is replaced with the word it. So what's the ball in that sentence? Okay, it's the direct object. Don't worry about it. It's the direct object. So I throw the ball. The ball is directly affected by the action to you. You're also affected by the action, but after. Okay? So in an indirect way, if I didn't throw the ball, you wouldn't be affected. Does that make sense? Maybe?
Yes.
Okay. So in sentences with indirect objects, there's usually a direct object too, almost always. So let's look at what these indirect objects look like. They should look familiar. They should look familiar. They're actually the same as the ones that we used for like me gusta, te gusta. So I'll show them all to you at the same time. In English, all of these words have to in front of them. Sometimes it could be at, like I throw the ball at you, which is a little bit different. But in English, there are usually two words, maybe a few more if it's all of you. And in Spanish, they're just one very short word. Do you guys remember looking at these when we were talking about gustar?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we talk about that verb, for example, gustar, a lot of teachers tell their students that it means to like, because it's easier that way. But when we get to this topic, it's actually easier if you learn it as to be pleasing. Something is pleasing to me, or something is pleasing to you, or something is pleasing to him or to her. So we've actually been using indirect object pronouns for a very long time, since probably second quarter of Spanish 1. We just didn't know that's what they were called. Okay, so let's look at a simple example. A simple example. Yo digo la verdad a mi mamá. I tell the truth to my mom. What's the subject in that sentence?
Yo.
Yo. Yo's the subject. And what's the action?
Digo.
Digo. And who is the indirect object?
A mi mamá.
A mi mamá, right? I tell the truth to my mom. La verdad is the direct object, it's what I'm telling, and mi mamá is who I'm telling. So, what can we replace mi mamá with?
Le.
Le, because it's one person. It's one person. Does gender matter at all with these?
No.
No, it doesn't, because there's only one version. Yo le digo la verdad. Yo le digo la verdad. Yo le digo la verdad. So we can see that it goes in the same place that we would expect the direct object pronoun to go, right between the subject and the verb. So the placement is the same. It goes right in between the subject and the verb. Okay. Let's try one more. La profesora enseña la lección a los estudiantes. The teacher teaches the lesson to the students. So what's the subject here?
La profesora
La profesora. And the action?
enseña
Enseña. And the indirect object?
a los estudiantes.
A los estudiantes. So now instead of saying to the students, we're going to say she teaches the lesson to them. The teacher teaches the lesson to them. So what are we going to replace los estudiantes with?
Les.
Les. And where is it going to go?
Before the enseña.
Before enseña, exactly. Exactly. So I'm using the colors to help show you guys where the words are moving in our sentences. So most of the time, not always, but most of the time, our indirect object is going to come last, like a mi mamá and a los estudiantes, but the pronoun comes much sooner when we rewrite the sentences to say her or them. It goes in between the subject and the verb. In between the subject and the verb. Okay? But just like with direct object pronouns, there's actually 3 places where these words can go. There's actually 3 places where these words can go. So the indirect object pronouns, which I abbreviated as IOP, can be placed in the same 3 spots as the direct object pronouns, DOP. So up on top, our first 2 examples, we have them in the first position, right before a conjugated verb. So digo and enseña are both conjugated verbs. Am I going too fast?
No.
No?
No, you're
Okay.
good.
Okay. So it goes right before a conjugated verb. Where else can it go?
At the end of the gerund or infinitive verb.
Yes, exactly. So it can either go at the end of the gerund or attached to the end of an infinitive verb. We're going to look at the infinitive verb first. So attached to an infinitive verb. That means directly after the R. There's no space, it's the same word. So we have, I'm going to tell the truth to my mom. Where's our infinitive verb?
Decir.
Decir. So yo is still the subject. Our verb phrase has 3 words. Voy a decir. But decir is the infinitive verb. And a mi mamá is still the indirect object. So if I want to stick it on the end, Where's it gonna go?
This year.
At the end of desir. Where else could it go?
Before the void.
Before voy, perfect. So it can either go before the conjugated verb, yo le voy a decir la verdad, or it can attach to the end of the infinitive, yo voy a decirle la verdad. I'm still going to put the colors in. Okay. So those two places are perfectly fine. You can put them in either place, le voy or decirle. Okay, when you're writing these, do you need to be able to do both of these things? Or is one good enough? Yeah, one is good enough, but you have to be able to recognize both, which is why I'm showing you both. Okay. So, and Jenny said before, we can also attach it to the end of a gerund. So instead of saying the teacher teaches the lesson to the students, we're going to say the teacher is teaching the lesson to the students, where la profesora is our subject and está enseñando is our verb phrase, and a los estudiantes is our indirect object pronoun. So I'll wait a second because I can hear some people writing. Okay, so what are we going to replace a los estudiantes with?
Attached to the enseñando.
Yes, we can. We can attach it to enseñando. And what are we going to attach?
Les.
Les. And where else could it go?
Before the
After.
está.
Before está, right? So we could have la profesora les está enseñando la lección. Or we could have la profesora está enseñándoles la lección. And when we do that, when we attach our les to enseñando, we have to put our accent on, just to make sure we're still pronouncing it correctly. So you guys can choose whichever way you like better. When I was a student, I almost always attached it to the end when I could, just because I liked it better, but you don't need to. You can put it before, since it can always go before. Okay. Any questions?
So it's all just one word,
The
second one?
enseñándoles. This word
Yeah.
here, Sam?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all one word because you attach it directly to the gerund.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so great. If there are no questions, then I'm going to tell you about the rest of the week. I'm going to put this on Classroom. So, one second. Okay. So you guys should be able to see your Google Classroom page, yes?
Mhm.
Okay, so here I posted the schedule. So today we had our Zoom. You don't have an assignment today. It's not due till tomorrow at 8 p.m. I'm still going to post it today for anyone who wants to start it early, but it's not due until tomorrow at 8 p.m. On Thursday, we're going to have another Zoom with an assignment due that day because we drop on Friday. Okay?
Mhm.
All right, so since we don't have an assignment today, what you could do is work on anything that needs to be corrected, or if you have questions, you can email me and ask them. But that assignment will go live for you later today. It's going to be a Google form based on the indirect object pronouns. And the next time that we meet is on Thursday. Okay, you guys are welcome to email me anytime in between there if you have any questions. But if there's no questions right now, then we're going to end.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Adios.
Adios.
Adios. Adios.